Okay, I think we're ready. Thank you for joining us today. Hello, everyone. My name is Erin Morgan. I am the editor-in-chief of Eye Care Business Magazine, and I am very excited to be here today to share our top 6 eyewear trends for the fall season with you all. And I am super excited to be joined by our other lovely ladies here on the stage who are going to be sharing some fun fashion and trend information with us. Sheena Taff, thank you and welcome. Sheena is the optician about town. She's a social media influencer. She is also the optical manager of her own optical shop, Robertson Brown in Vancouver.
Yes.
Okay, great. And Sheena is a kind of a key contributor to Eye Care Business as well. She's a fantastic monthly column that runs every issue called the Optical Checklist, which is great for kind of planning how to run your dispensary, what are different things to take care of each month. And it's a really defined, wonderful checklist. We've been running that for many years now, and it's one of our most popular columns in the magazine. So we're thrilled to have you here. Thank you. Is there anything I missed?
No, absolutely. That's a great introduction. I'm happy to be here and give everyone some ideas about what they should be looking for when they're shopping in the next couple of days.
Shopping is good. Shopping is good. Yes, and also wonderful to be here also with Carrie Ann Ramos. She is our managing editor on Eye Care Business Magazine. And Carrie Ann's been with us for 6 or 7 years now, and she handles a lot of our new products coverage in our retail fashion section of the magazine. She curates that section. She is instrumental in helping me organize our fashion shoots and our still life shoots for the magazine. And also she handles our trend report, which is in this current issue that's here at the show. It's kind of a runway and color report for the season called the EB Lookbook. Anything I missed there?
No, I think that's it. We have some fun trends on tap, so.
And Carrie Ann pulled some great eyewear to go with our trends. So we're going to go through our trend boards here. I'll flip through them. You can see them up here on the screens. And it'll cover our 6 trends. And those will then be illustrated by Faith, who is joining us here today from TNG Models in Las Vegas. Thank you, Faith, for joining us. So Faith is going to walk around, give you guys an up-close look at the different eyewear trends and some of the styles that we curated to show you today. So before we get started, though, I always like to ask this question of the audience. I just kind of want to get to know who you are before we get started. So could you folks just raise your hand if you're an optician? Awesome. Could you raise your hand if you're an optometrist? Awesome. And could you raise your hand if you're optical staff, if you're here to buy frames or other kind of involved in the optical? Okay, great, awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us. So our first trend is called Unexpected Acetate. And Faith will model this, and I'm going to let Carrie Ann introduce this frame before we talk about the trend a little bit.
So first, you have to start it off with this awesome Loewe sun style from Telios. It's an injected nylon acetate, and I really think it's going to make waves this season. We saw it last night at Telios in the suites, and it just illustrates this kind of over-the-top use of acetate that still looks, there's so many silhouettes that are available with this. And it translates to other accessories with the fashion house, and we're seeing that kind of throughout these trends. Although there's trends that are in the eyewear, they'll kind of go across the board in fashion and across the board in eyewear. So we'll start it off with this Loewe sun.
And just another note on this particular frame, we were up at Telios last night looking at their styles. Totally, incredible over-the-top style, right? So Mark was our publisher over here, Mark Durek, he was holding the frame, and I said, "Is that heavy? Because man, does that look big?" And they said it's hollow. So the frame itself is hollow. It's still a substantial frame, but it's actually, so it's just an interesting point. I know this is the innovation stage. We were going to try to weave in some innovation in eyewear right now and what's going on with our trends, and that is definitely one of them. I mean, just manufacturing and design and the ways in which we're saving weight and employing materials. So the hollowness of that frame is really interesting and pretty unique. But you would imagine it would be pretty heavy if it wasn't. So I'll turn it over to Sheena for any input you might have.
So that frame, as Carrie Ann mentioned, is really picking up on a trend that we're seeing in fashion, which is like quilting, bubbly, like you just want to squeeze it. It almost looks like it's made out of a balloon. And I love with Acetate how designers are really taking into account the angles and the depth. So rather than having just a flat acetate, really looking at acetate frames that have beautiful beveling that creates dimension and depth on the frame. And this is a really good example of it.
And we're going to switch over to a Carolina Herrera sunglass from Zapholo. It's really bold but easy to wear, and as you'll see, there are striping details on the temple. If you could just put your hair back a little bit to show the temple detail. Yeah, so they're awesome, and it's kind of a good translation if you don't want to go full out with a crazy acetate. You could do something awesome on the temples to just make a little pop.
Love it. Very, very cool. Also part of that unexpected acetate trend that we've been seeing, you know, as we pull product for our fashion shoots, for our still life shoots, and just see, you know, we get probably 10, 15 press releases of new products a day in an eye care business. So just seeing a lot of this really unique, unexpected, kind of wild use of acetate. So, and great to see these kind of, you know, insets and patterns and use of color on the acetate. Anything you wanted to add there, Sheena?
I think this frame has done a really great job of combining colors together, still within that monochrome palette, but they've created depth by having that cutout around the eye wire with the cheek tone that creates a beautiful depth and dimension, and it's in a very wearable shape for lots of different people.
Definitely. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for that. Okay, on to our next trend. There we go. This worked. Serious business. So something that we were seeing, you know, on the runways was, you know, still very modern, and but like tying in retro influences, tying in kind of that preppy school influence, kind of that menswear, but that classic look. We're seeing a lot of that for fall in the fashion lines, and now we're seeing that tied into the eyewear, from classic shapes, even retro shapes, as you can see up here. I love this pink velvet blazer shot.
That's Tom Ford.
Of course.
Yes,
Yeah,
of course.
That's a beautiful shot.
Yeah.
Great frame.
I just wanted to kind of tag on to that. I think this is like, I kind of have dubbed it scholarly swagger. It's like that collegiate, but really, as Erin said, cool and retro, and, you know, just mean business with this trend. So Faith started off with a Calvin Klein optical style. It has that collegiate thin round, and now she's wearing a Celine style from Telios, and this is a chunkier cat eye. And this fashion house overall has a lot of retro elements that kind of throw back to that cool collegiate look.
I really love this trend because it's such a great unisex trend. So when we're buying frames, you know, for our optical and we're fitting patients, we really kind of want to blur the lines of male and female and offer a selection of frames that can be worn by anybody. And so I think that this style really fits that trend, and the shapes can, you know, really be adaptable no matter what, which gives you extra inventory, and then it kind of blurs the lines of unisex frame.
Yeah, like I would wear any of these frames, and they're mostly on men, so
I
really agree.
Yeah. So it's great. Definitely seeing a lot more unisex these days. It's interesting because we used, I think it was a men's collection in our September issue fashion shoot that is here at the show. And the company said, oh, well, that's a men's line. And we said, but it looks so great on the woman. So, it's really kind of just very flexible these days, for sure, if it looks good. So our next trend is patterns, please. I love this one. It's really playful, really fun. As you can see from the clothing, we're seeing this on the runway, but we've seen a lot of this really creative, again, acetate, shines here, of course. Of course, there's a bit on metal as well, but acetate you can really have fun with. We saw some fantastic frames yesterday that had beautiful colorations. I would say with acetate right now, there is a lot of innovation on that front. And of course, we are seeing personally, again, a lot of eco-friendly, sustainable acetates. A lot of companies are employing that now in their collections. Just saw something else come through from Zapholo this week about a collaboration with Mazzucchelli on sustainable frame materials. So that's a great story to share with your patients and customers. It's definitely important to a lot of consumers today. So as you can see on this trend, really cool, fun use of acetate and inlays and acetate colorations as well.
Yeah, so just real briefly, I'll talk about the two frames that first she had on a fish sunglass. Now she's going to have on, because obviously fish just dominates this pattern trend. Anything from animal print patterns to striping. You can really have a lot of fun with this trend.
The one thing that's really great about patterns is when they're very consistent across the frame. Anybody who works with patients knows that sometimes a tortoiseshell or a more random acetate pattern can be a little tricky because you can end up one that has a big splotch of one color on one side, and it can be very uneven. But patterns such as these are very consistent across the whole frame. So you get that depth, that visual interest, while you have something consistent, and you're not going to end up with maybe one on your board that's going to sit there for too long because it has an inconsistent pattern on it.
Definitely. That's a great point, for sure. So a lot of flexibility in this trend. All right, so on to our next trend, which Sheena and I've got going a little bit here with our pink. That was not planned.
That's by accident.
It was by accident. What's your frame?
This is a Sabine frame.
Ooh, it's beautiful. I love the shape. Mine is a Makita from a couple of years ago. So obviously this trend revolves around neon and some neon pops that we're seeing on frames. Very wearable, but yet still kind of tying in this neon look. As you can see, the female shot here, the model shot with the model in the white shirt, that's from our fashion shoot. That was that an OG? I think that was an OGI.
Yeah, in the suit.
Yeah, it was such a fun frame to work with. It looked so fantastic on her. It really popped in the light. So we've seen a lot of this come through, and then as you can see here, Carrie Ann's pulled some Pantone colors.
From the trend boards, which is awesome. So our EB lookbook, we're seeing a ton of neons within the Pantone fall-winter color palette, which is fun because it's fall, so you think it's like these natural greens and browns, but they really are. It's anything goes for the seasons now in terms of color and trend. So first we had a Lanvin sunglass from Marchand, and I think this is a really approachable look at the neon trend. And I think something fun about this trend is if you don't want to do a full neon outfit like the suit on the right, you can really, add just a pop of neon like this with your eyewear, and it makes it a more kind of accessible way to show that to your patients and to your clients of, this can add a little bit more to elevate your look without going full-fledged. And then we have also really approachable neon because they have these flash mirror blue lenses. So if it's not the full frame, you can get a neon lens look as well.
I love how designers are adding pops of neon as well, which makes it really approachable. So I think that both the OGI frame and the metal frame pictured on the trend board are really great examples of that, because they just have little snippets. So if you're not really feeling like you want to commit to maybe such a bold neon look, you can still have those pops of color in frames. And this is a great conversation starter with patients, because this is where we get into that multi-pair conversation. You know, patients might not want to commit to having such a bright frame if they're only going to have one frame, but having a conversation about adding a wardrobe of eyewear and having a really fun and colorful frame with a pop of neon color is great for both men and women.
That's a good point. Yeah, definitely a unisex trend, as many of our trends are. And we're also seeing men wearing bling right now quite a bit. We've seen some kind of fun celeb photos with bling going on. So I had to, just because I wanted to wear my sequin skirt today, so I felt like that was good. I was doing the bling is back. So we, certainly, look, we've had Swarovski crystals. We've had a lot of different incarnations of bling. We had light bling, we've had heavy bling over the years, but we're really seeing this. Oops, there we go. The slide is back. And we're seeing this in eyewear and in fashion, just kind of even bling as casual, like you could wear this skirt with a t-shirt and a pair of sneakers, and your bling is, it's just kind of a fun way. And the eyewear is an excellent way to bring bling in and keep it simple, but, just really add some bling into your wardrobe. So we're seeing a lot of different ways. This is coming in pearl, as you can see here from our pictures, and then of course in the crystals and this gorgeous frame. What frame is she?
That is actually the Celine that is featured in our fashion shoot as well. And that's kind of the full-fledged all out. I could probably spend the whole day counting the amount of crystals on that frame, but we do have another sunglass from Michael Kors that's a little bit just a touch on the side near the temples. So you can kind of go both ways with it.
I think designers are really working bling back into eyewear, and it's not your grandma's blingy glasses. So I think oftentimes when we think of bling in eyewear, we think it's, maybe geared towards, an older, more sophisticated lady. But as Erin mentioned, adding bling to men's frames, Philip Klein is adding a lot of bling and embellishment even to their men's frames. And I think that designers are really considering it in a more youthful, fun way. And I mean, who doesn't want to wear a little sparkle?
Totally. I'm all over that. Okay, next trend. Oh, there we go. And I think this is our last trend, right? So Geometry Rules is this trend, and Faith will model some frames relevant to this, but we're seeing a lot of kind of geometric shapes in many different incarnations, even just kind of more angular shapes as well. So, and then anything goes on these, they could be simple metals, they could be rimless, as you see here. I believe that's a silhouette.
Yes, that is a silhouette. Now she's rocking the Philip Klein that's actually also in our photo shoot. So thank you for counting the sides. I believe you had the caption for that, heptagonal shape. So let me count the ways and the sides of the frame. I love the futuristic vibe of this. I think we've kind of been delving into that over seasons of getting this kind of more futuristic DNA throughout a lot of fashion houses overall, like as you see the geometric dress and all of the runway looks as well.
Are you seeing a lot of geometrics in your practice as well?
I am, absolutely. And I think that this is a great substitute for round frames. I think that patients who have been committed to a round frame for years are looking for something new and fresh, and the geometric trend really hits on that. As you mentioned, it also is incredibly flattering because it's got great angles, so it can highlight cheekbones and really give the face a great lift. So I think that whether you choose a very, very bold geometric shape in an acetate or something more minimal, the silhouettes are a perfect example of how you can get a really bold geometric shape but in a more minimal design because it's just a floating lens.
Exactly. So that makes it very, very wearable.
Sure. I just wanted to touch on really quick the optical Carolina Herrera. So we're seeing it across the board in suns and in optical. And also, I just wanted to mention kind of a mix of these trends. There can be bling and there can be geometric all at the same time. So it's great to see them kind of translate across the board.
Okay, great. Well, so we're done with our trend boards and our modeling, and I'd like to turn it over to see if anyone has any questions. We're almost at the end of our time here on the stage, but any questions out there for our panelists, for our models, for myself on the trends?
I'd love to know what other people's favorite trends are too, if anyone has contributions.
I know, any other trends you guys have been seeing? You're going to see a whole bunch in the next couple of days, no doubt. I love all the eyewear that I'm seeing out here. Gorgeous stuff. So, yes, well, if you folks would, oh, I see a question. I'm going to so turn that over to you.
I think that your eyewear says a lot about you, and I think that having frames with a little visual interest make you more approachable. It's a great conversation starter, and looking for frames that have maybe pops of color on the interior or small little accents are a great stepping stone. So maybe the next pair might not be going from black to a neon frame, but you can maybe get a tortoiseshell with a pop of color on the interior of the frame as a stepping stone. And then the following pair may be that full out neon, bold, bright, colorful frame. Yes.
Great suggestion. It's a great idea.
Love it. And I feel like as a consumer as well that wears frames, when I'm on like Zoom calls and Teams calls, I want like really, fun eyewear because then I don't have to put on a whole cool outfit. I can just make a statement with my eyewear. So just from that kind of perspective, I think that it helps as well.
It's true, and probably the person that wears the black eyewear is the person like me that wears all the black. So I finally bust out and I got myself some colorful frames. So it is true, because if you're wearing, kind of a monochrome, it makes it easy to have it make a style statement. They don't have to wear neon pink though. That might be a bit of a stretch.
Look how good they look, so you should try it.
So if anyone would like a copy of our trend boards to share with your staff or use on your social media or anything, just give us your business card and we'll make sure you get a PDF of the trend boards. Happy to send those out and share them. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Sheena.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie Ann. Thank you, Faith. Wonderful job. Appreciate all you guys, and we'll see you around the show floor. Have a good
great
show.
Expo, everybody.
Thank you.